Part 30. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 294. This door-like thing is actually a flying sword? Most of the monks on the scene were unbelievable, but because the three avatars without Black Water Lotus were in sync with Wei Suo, we saw that Wei Suo clearly made a sword tactic. Then the same thing as the door panel, the whole body of gold shines, and it is very domineering to the thin Minjai Yuanzong disciple wearing a yellow shirt. The thin Minjai Yuanzong disciple, wearing a yellow shirt, also had an incredible expression, and immediately sacrificed a square Dharma shield, blocking him in front of him. On this square Dharma shield, the black light flashed and the aura was full, and it was obviously also a high-end high-grade goods. But at this time, a flying sword of the same size as the door panel produced by Wei Suo suddenly had another yellow light. As soon as this layer of yellow light surged up, this door panel was much larger than Wei Suo's flying sword. It suddenly became heavier and I didn't know how many times it looked. It felt like it suddenly turned into a hill, crushing. There was a sonic boom in the air in front. Under a slash, the magic shield sacrificed by the monks of the thin Yuan zone was actually torn apart. Boom! All the monks present jumped. Even if they just watch the silent fighting method picture, they can feel the vibration around when this flying sword is cut on this magic shield. The fact that this flying sword shattered this Dharma shield at once was not so much as to smash it, but rather to crush it directly. Without the slightest stop, the yellow mask outside the thin Ming Yuan zone monk was easily cut by the flying sword like this door. Seeing such a scene, the two Ming Yuan zone monks were in a horrified look, and the other Ming Yuan zone monk with a narrow face did not care about attacking Wei Suo. S own giant ring burning a blazing flame. The defensive magic weapon points to the monk of the thin Yuan zone monk, trying to help him resist the flying sword that he had never seen before. A blue light shot from the hands of the thin Ming Yuan zone monk who had no trace of blood on his face, and collided with the door flying sword. The blue light was immediately smashed again, but somehow blocked it, so that the 4-volume giant ring defense magic weapon blocked the flying sword. Boom! But all the onlookers on the sea, including Zixing Realman and Li Minghe, jumped again. This giant ring was blocked before the flying sword, although it was not cut into pieces by this flying sword at once, but the huge power was hit by the giant ring at once and hit the thin Minjai Yuanzong monk behind him. Everyone in this ring flew backwards. At the moment, there is no need for a chubby monk named Qi to read his lips. It can also be seen that this thin monk Ming Yuan zone screamed loudly. Although not directly killed, it is obvious that the body was also blistered with a layer of blisters. And on the giant ring that was burning with flames, there was also a deep mark, and a lot of spiritual light was lost. The flying sword with the same door is just a roundabout, and it was directly shot on the thin Minjai Yuanzong monk. Another burst of air conditioning sounded on the sea. So many monks know why Fang Cai's Ziwei sect disciple seemed to be flattened. Because this thin monk Ming Yuan zone was shot by this flying sword, he was also flattened directly. The same thing as this door is not only a real flying sword, but also the power of the Elder Wei is like the magic weapon of the Dao middle class. When he saw that the thin monk Ming Yuan zone hadn't had time to use any means, he was directly killed in a facelift. The monk Ming Yuan zone with a narrow face was so shocked that he almost jumped out of his mouth. I saw his hands raised, and more than 10 black and gray beads blasted out, hitting Wei Suo's door blade flying sword. Yin phosphor beads. Now many monks onlookers recognized this thing. This kind of yin phosphorus beads is a magic weapon made from yin phosphorus sand. It is more powerful than yin phosphorus sand. At the same time, a black light rushed out of the soil under Wei Suo's feet. It was the 5th level monster that was only 1 or 2 feet long and shaped like a little crocodile, the ancient magic crocodile. In the eyes of the monks on site, Wei Suo's situation suddenly became dangerous. No. What a flying sword this is. But what made most of the monks on the sea incredulously widen their eyes was that at least 5 or 6 yin phosphor beads hit the flying sword on Wei Zhuo's doorplate, and 5 or 6 groups of blue and black flames kept burning. Burn. However, Wei Zhuo's door-sized flying sword was still gleaming with gold, and the yin phosphorus pearl couldn't burn his flying sword at all. And an equally alarming scene appeared. The very sinister ancient crocodile had just drilled out of the ground, and a wave of transparent ripples swayed on his body immediately. Then the ancient magic crocodile stiffened, and immediately, without any sign, a blood flower emerged from the ancient magic crocodile's head. When the blood flower splashed upwards, it seemed to be vaguely visible that there was a completely transparent thing lying on the head of this ancient devil. Heart Eater. Among the thousands of monks present, there was no lack of insight, and there were people who exclaimed. In addition to this flying sword that scared the dead, this elder Wei of Haixianzong actually had a heartworm. Moreover, judging from the situation in which this heart eater instantly kills a 5th-level high-level monster, this head has been advanced more than once, and it is already an elder-level heart eater that has at least reached the strength of 6th-level monster. The two Jindan monks, Li Minghe and Zixing Jinren, completely changed their faces. I saw that there were still 5 or 6 groups of yin phosphorus fireballs on the sword plate, and they continued to cut towards the Minjai Yuanzong monk with a long and narrow face without stopping. The giant ring burning with blazing flames flew back again, blocking the Ming Yuanzong monk, but this time, under the yellow light of the sword, this giant ring was directly cut in half. Then the door-sized flying sword easily cut through the light curtain outside the Ming Yuanzong monk without stopping. The terrified Ming Yuanzong monk glowed blue and red with 2 hands in succession, and turned around desperately to escape. But these 2 huaguangs were directly shot by the flying sword, and then the flying sword was slapped on his back, which almost flattened the Ming Yuanzong monk. Most of the monks present could not speak at all. A monk divided into 3 levels of thought, plus a monk divided into 2 levels of thought, plus a 5th-level high-level monster that is as powerful as Zhou Tianjing's 5-level siege. The elder was actually solved by the elder Wei 3 times and 5 times divided by 2. No wonder a monk in red shirt in front of Zai Weizong will be instantly killed by this elder Wei. Qi Daiyu, what is he talking about? A monk beside the chubby monk named Qi could not help but ask the chubby monk named Qi. By this time Wei Suo had already started to collect loot from the bodies of the 2 monks, and it seemed to be muttering something. At the moment, the monks on the sea were all silent. The monk's voice seemed very clear at this moment. He was saying that this domestic ancient magic crocodile didn't know if it could be regarded as a monster that was hunted in the Blackwood Islands. The chubby monk with the surname Qi said with a wry smile. Hearing the voice of the chubby monk named Qi, Li Minghe, who was originally waiting for Wei Suo to be beaten to death by 2 Ming Yuanzong monks, suddenly had a pale face, and gave Xuanhuan an ancestor a hard look. Xuanhuan deist, no wonder you will take the initiative to increase the gambling offer, it turns out that there is such a character under the door. Where Xuanhuan ancestor haha smiled, said, to be honest, I am not very clear about the strength of Elder Wei, but this also surprised me. However, if Li Daiyu repents now and doesn't add this gamble, it's okay after a haha. Xuanhuan patriarch glanced at Li Minghe very meaningfully and said this. Xuanhuan Daiyu, do you really think it is undoubtedly a win? Li Minghe's eyes suddenly flashed, and he said angrily, Li Minghe is that kind of unbelievable person. Yes, but this monk of Ming Yuanzong seems to have some bad luck. Suddenly Li Minghe turned his head and saw that on the blue light curtain, Wei Suo had scraped away the things from the 2 Ming Yuanzong monks, and the whole person had sneaked out to the left. Under the scanning of the refraction mirror, before seeing Wei Suo's 240 feet, there appeared another monk of the green robe Minjai Yuanzong who seemed to be coming to hear the sound of the fighting method. Is his consciousness as arrogant as the Jindan monk? The whole sea was suddenly exclaimed again. Because looking at Wei Suo's appearance, it seems that it is so far away that he has locked the position of the Ming Yuanzong monk very accurately. To shoot, he can now launch a sudden blow. But Wei Suo did not rush to shoot. After approaching the consciousness of the Mingyu Enzong monk, we saw that Wei Suo's lips moved again. Put down the monsters and magical instruments on your body, everyone is still a good brother, I will let you go, what do you think? The short monk surnamed Qi immediately said what Wei Suo said at this time. This disciple of Mingyu Enzong was also a monk who divided the ideology into three. If he had heard such words from such a monk before, the monks on the spot would think that Wei Suo was an idiot. But now, all the monks look at Wei Suo's eyes, but it is completely different. This elder of Haixianzong is really too fierce. Are you kidding me? When the disciple of Minjai Yuanzong in green robe saw the monk opposite Haixianzong, he suddenly looked relieved and gave a sneer like contempt. I'm really not kidding you, really, otherwise I'll definitely shout your sister when I take out something, and when I do something with you, Wei Suo said. Go to death. The monk Mingyu Enzong of the green robe sent a blue light to Wei Suo without any nonsense. Your sister. Many monks on the sea shouted this sentence. I saw that the flying sword with the same door plate appeared in the sight of everyone, and then flew the blue light emitted by the green robe Minjai Yuanzong monk. Asterisk. Go out for dinner tonight, breathable. There is no way to code, so the next chapter update will be at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Please vote more if tomorrow's red ticket is fierce. I promise next week it must be pumped out one day. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 295. It's yin phosphorus beads again. Do you Mingyu Enzong have any new ideas? Chunky monk surnamed Qi continued to read what Wei Suo said at this time. On the blue light curtain, monk Mingyu Enzong, a green robe whose face instantly became uglier than the dead old lady, shook her hands and hit a dozen yin phosphor beads. I put down all the monsters and magical objects on my body. Yin phosphorus beads hit the flying sword. The flying sword plated with 2 layers of obsidian did not react at all, but the flying sword was abruptly suspended in the air. Lived, because the monk Mingyu Enzong of the green robe suddenly called such a sentence. That's right, as long as you put down all the monsters and magical instruments, everyone is still a good brother. Wei Suo let Fijian stop in the air, and the monks present were all clear. Really, there is a sword handle, really a fly sword. Some monks who responded slowly made such a shout at this time, so many monks couldn't help but shouted, you sister. The elders of Li Minghe and Mingyu Enzong looked extremely ugly. The monk Mingyu Enzong of the green robe, when he was in a bad situation, surrendered directly and begged for mercy. I saw that after he gritted his teeth, he quickly took out a nabeo from his body and threw it to Wei Suo. No, brother, you may be hiding something like this. You have to take off all the vests before you talk. Wei Suo shook his head and said. This chubby monk named Qi who can read lip surgery is really a personal talent. When he read the dialogue between the two, he still had a tone. Why, is there really nothing good hidden in him? Wei Suo's eyes suddenly gleamed with gold. No, it's under, there's a gap. The monk of the green robe Minjai Yuanzong said with embarrassment. Is there a gap? Wei Suo didn't respond for a moment, very uncomprehending. It's just, I don't always like to wear clothes under the vest. Isn't it? Wei Suo finally reacted, and the monk all over the sea suddenly burst into laughter. It doesn't matter, there is no one else here. Weiss persuaded like an old friend. Your sister, there is really a gap. What made the monks present called out was that after the green robe Minjai Yuanzong monk hesitated for a while, he could only take off his vest. I saw that the monk's green robes were empty and bare. Brother, it's not bad, the chest muscles are very developed. Wei Suo looked at the monk, and said aloud. Your vest is good, just give it to your brother. You still wear my vest. Wei Suo grabbed his hand and took away the Emperor Mingyu Enzong monk who had embarrassed his face and put it away. Then he threw it to Mingyu Enzong, an ordinary green cloth vest. Boom! There was another burst of laughter on the sea. After the Mingyu Enzong monk quickly wore this blue cloth vest, he didn't dare to stay for a while, and quickly turned around and plundered away. But this green cloth vest was not so strict. When he flew away, the Mingyuanzong monk apparently shivered a little, obviously the wind blows his butt. The two elders of Mingyuanzong's complexion were all tarnished. In this situation, even if they removed the refraction mirror, they would still be joked by the monks present, and now Wei Suo's strength has made them all. There was an extremely strong anxiety, but for a time they involuntarily fixed the refraction mirror on Wei Suo's body. I saw that after Wei Suo had collected everything from the Mingyuanzong monk, he didn't stay at all, and walked quietly towards the jungle on the right. After about 5 or 6 miles away, Wei Suo stopped, and stretched out his hand. The green and black guts in his hand surged, and he captured several demon beasts and returned to Nebo. The skill of capturing the monsters this time even made almost all the monks fail to see what level of monsters Wei Suo caught. But after grabbing these monsters, Wei Suo suddenly stopped, frowning, looking like he was listening to something, and then suddenly called. Fool. After the monk surnamed Chi hesitated for a while, he still read the sentence that Wei Suo said. After the two Mingyuanzong elders were stunned for a while, they immediately controlled the refracting lens, and quickly swept within a few miles around Wei Suo. A goose yellow figure and a cyan figure flashed through the blue light curtain. The refracting lens stopped immediately and turned back. Xuanhuan men. All the monks present recognized these two men immediately. They were the disciples of Mingyuanzong's genius disciples Xuanhuan men and Fang Cai. Upon seeing the appearance of Xuanhuan men, Li Minghe suddenly glanced at the ancestor of Xuanhuan with a smile on his face. The meaning in his eyes is self-evident. In his view, Wei Suo is no more powerful than Xuanhuan men's opponent. Wei Suo's good life is about to turn around. With a flying sword, can you be so arrogant? Don't think that you can't hide. I won't be able to chase you. The monk Chi, who could not help but take a deep breath, read immediately. Out of what Xuanhuan men said, I will let you know what is better than death. After Xuanhuan men said this sternly, a layer of thunder flashed up and disappeared in a flash. Obviously, with Wei Suo's stupidity, Xuanhuan men had already determined Wei Suo's general position. The whole sea suddenly became silent, and the atmosphere suddenly became extremely tense. The elders of Mingyuanzong immediately turned the refracting lens to the position of Wei Suo. I saw Wei Suo stayed in place, but did not leave. Is it a circle? All the monks saw that Wei Suo shook his hand, and dozens of small yellow flags flew out of his hands, concealed on the ground around him. Immediately, he saw that he stretched out his hand, put on the invisible vestment, and disappeared immediately. It was only a dozen breathing times, and the lightning flashed, and Xuanhuan men had appeared in this mountain forest. A fluffy yellow gas suddenly rose. This magic circle was instantly inspired by Wei Suo. But Xuanhuan men's face actually showed a contemptuous look. The speed of casting the magic weapon is also scary. At the moment when the yellow gas rises, a golden light and a dark green brilliance have appeared in Xuanhuan men's body at the same time. A ball of golden light is a magic weapon like an account, and it should be a defensive weapon, which encases Xuanhuan men's whole body in it. And that dark green brilliance is really his magic weapon of sickle-like attack with a height of more than one person. While offering this magic weapon, a magic formula was already formed in his hands. I saw that the sky above it suddenly lit up, and the golden filaments of lightning plummeted down like a rainstorm. It turned out to be a square that covered nearly 100 feet. The black light flashed, and Wei Suo, who only saw the expressionless face, appeared under the package of the black water lotus. Obviously, although he has an invisible vest, the range and power of Xuanhuan men's spell is so amazing that he has to release the defensive weapon, forcing him to appear. At the same time that he appeared, the flying sword on the door plate also appeared, and the golden light was released, and he beheaded towards Xuanhuan men. Do you think you might be my opponent? Xuanhuan men sneered disdainfully, and the sickle-shaped attack magic weapon suspended in front of him also directly slashed into Wei Suo. I saw that this magic weapon directly crossed Wei Suo's flying sword in the air. In comparison, its speed was much faster than Wei Suo's flying sword. Coming late, first arrived, not far away in front of Wei Suo. The breath of most monks on the sea is almost stagnant. Because according to the speed of the two, even if Wei Suo wanted to recall Fijian to defend Ou Ranmen's magic weapon, it was too late. A genius disciple is worthy of being a genius disciple. Ou Ranmen didn't even defend at the moment, so he let go of the attack and wanted to kill Wei Suo in a single second. The power of this magic weapon was clearly seen by all the monks present. Under the blessing of Ou Ranmen's spells, this magic weapon has reached an amazing level of middle-level magic weapons. But the look on Wei Suo's face at this moment is still unchanged. I saw him raise his hand with no expression on his face, and the blue and black violently surging out, instantly condensed into a blue and black ghost claw. One claw caught on this magic weapon. The blue-black ghost claw was immediately chopped and burst open. But at the same time, more than 10 pieces of white crescent-shaped water blades that are 1 foot long as they appeared out of thin air also hit this magic weapon. Being hit by these two things, the castration of this magic weapon is obviously slightly slowed. Immediately afterwards, on the cyan vestment of Wei Suo, countless cyan filaments poured out, forming a layer of cyan light mesh in front of him. Ou Ranmen's sickle-shaped magic weapon cut through the light net layer by layer and impacted on the black water lotus outside Wei Suo's body. I saw a layer of water splashing from the petals of the black water lotus, but is blocked. How is this possible? Seeing that the black water lotus in the last layer hadn't been cut, Ou Ranmen's eyes suddenly showed an incredible look. And at this moment, Wei Suo's flying sword had been cut on the golden tent outside him. The golden logo was cut directly by Fijian. But in the flash of thunder, Ou Ranmen's figure disappeared from the spot instantly, and the flying sword he cut off just cut to a residual image. Most monks on the sea took another breath. The speed at which Ou Ranmen escaped the law, like his sickle-shaped magic weapon, was faster than Wei Suo's flying sword. In this way, even if Wei Suo's flying sword is astonishing, he can't get him. Judging from the fact that Wei Suo blocked him, the sickle-shaped magic weapon almost reached its limit. From this point of view, Wei Suo is absolutely impossible to defeat Ou Ranmen. But at this moment, we saw Wei Suo's expressionless hand. A black light emanated from his hand. This group of black light is a magic weapon like two black wings, and this magic weapon came to Ou Ranmen in the blink of an eye. Under these two black-winged magic weapons, there was even a black knife. In Ou Ranmen's unbelievable gaze, the top of the black knife shot a bloodshot and hit him. A blood hole of the size of a bowl appeared on his chest in an instant. Without a slight pause, while Ou Ranmen froze stiffly, the door-sized flying sword shot fiercely on the genius monk with a 5-point ambition. Snapped. All the monks present changed their complexions, as if they heard the sound of the photograph. Ou Ranmen, like the previous two monks, was flattened. Asterisk. Can the red ticket be powerful? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 296. Almost all monks' mouths were open on the sea, but they could not make any sound. How is this possible? Almost all monks can't believe their eyes. Ou Ranmen's five-fold cultivation of the realm of thought is that, for so many years of prestige, if this sea hunting conference can only live out of one person, all the monks on the sea before would probably choose Ou Ranmen alone. Before the Shanghai hunting conference, in the presence of all the monks fighting for the Jindan stage monk Zixing real person, the power of Ou Ranmen has risen to an unprecedented level in the mind of the monks present. In the eyes of the vast majority of monks, Ou Ranmen is a giant dragon among so many monks participating in the sea hunting conference, and the rest of the monks can be regarded as Jiao at most. But now this dragon is actually just around, and it was shot by Wei Suo like an ant. It's just like a spike, how is this possible? Ticka ticka. Time seemed to stagnate on the sea, and suddenly a monk's exclamation sounded. The monks closest to the white platform scrambled back. I saw that Li Minghe's whole body made a sound of teeth biting loudly, an amazing chill, like the vortex of the same circle, radiated from his body, and the sea near the white platform was directly frozen. Oyu Ranmen, but the next fixed Jindan monk of the Mingyuan zone, is more important to the Mingyuan zone than the 10 or even 50 split-phase disciples add up. This sea hunting conference, Mingyuan zone spent a lot of effort to make this refractive lens, just to make Oyu Ranmen Liwei. But now, Oyu Ranmen was actually shot by 1 or 2 people who were killed by this elder Wei Xianzong who has no reputation at all. This kind of gap makes the Jindan monks like Li Minghe unbearable psychologically. Okay. Xuanhuan ancestor, my Li Minghe was really counted by you this time. Li Minghe smiled angrily, his face twisted. This person is so fierce, don't you think my Mingyuan zone did not people? Li Daiyu, you are wrong. Xuanhuan ancestor sneered and glanced at Li Minghe lightly. In the previous sea hunting conferences, all of our Haixianzong people died, but I didn't say anything. The number of Haixian sect disciples who died under Oyu Ranmen is not too much. Why, are you only allowed to kill my Haixian sect disciple by Mingyuan zone, and not my Haixian sect disciple to kill you Minjayuanzong disciple? Besides, I just reminded you that if you can't, you can withdraw from the sea hunting conference. Li Minghe's complexion changed a lot, and he couldn't help it. I would like to gamble and lose. This sea hunting conference has always been such a rule. If you want to copy this book, you can wait for the next sea hunting conference, but at this time, the real person of Zixing looked at Li Minghe indifferently. Could it be that for this sea hunting conference, a complete face-turning failed? Hearing the words of the real person Zixing, Li Minghe, who looked extremely ugly, took a deep breath and finally suppressed his murderous intention. If the two sects are at war, the Mingyuan zone will have the certainty to win the Haixianzong and kill the enemy by 1,000. Moreover, if this kind of large-scale gate is fought, not only the disciples of this gate will join, but also will use all the resources, spirit stones, and magical tools on their hands to invite free repair to join. This year, for a certain thing that hatred, the sect that fought such a big battle is not without it. But basically, there is no benefit for both sides. Even if they can destroy the other sect, they will consume too much, or they will be immediately destroyed by other sects, or they will collapse from now on. Xuanhuan Daiyu, I didn't expect you Haixianzong to have such a person. Real Star Zixing turned to look at the ancestor of Xuanhuan again and said, forgive me, I don't know if this elder Wei is divided into different situations. A heavy monk? Wouldn't it be a monk with a 5-point ambition? 5-level monk. Hearing the words from the real person of Zixing, the monk on the sea suddenly blew a cold air. This elder Wei is at most 26 or 7-year-old. If you really think about the 5-fold cultivation practice of the realm, the speed at which this cultivation enters the state is really terrifying. There are no 5 points to divide the mind. The ancestors of Xuanhuan's heart could not be described in words at the moment. If he had just seen Oyu Ranmen and Wei Suo, he was nervous to die. I was afraid that Wei Suo was shot dead by the other party, and now I can only say that Wei Suo's surprise to him is too great. Just now that the point that poses the greatest threat to Haixianzong in the future is removed, it can already be said that Haixianzong's investment in a damaged spirit has already paid off. But although he was extremely proud in his heart, he still had a very indifferent look on his face. Elder Wei is only divided into 4 levels of cultivation. 4 levels of mindfulness. The tone of Xuanhuan's ancestor seemed to be very indifferent, but it fell into the ears of the monks around, but it was different. At the age of 26 and 60, the 4 levels of practice of thinking are very amazing. Understand that under normal circumstances, even if retreats are practiced hardly, the average monk needs to study from 3 levels to 4 levels, but it also takes at least 10 years. But this time the ancestor Xuanhuan added another sentence, heaven-level low-level exercises. What? This sentence of the ancestor of Xuanhuan suddenly caused all the monks present to blow up the pen, and even the real person of Zixing was incredulously exclaimed. Celestial exercises. The training speed of the heaven-level exercises is twice as fast as that of the ground-level exercises. Celestial level exercises divide the fourfold practice of the Nianjing realm. If you are practicing prefecture level exercises, I am afraid that you have already arrived at the fifth level concentration. Oyu Ranmen was nearly 40 years old, and his prefecture level cultivation practice was divided into 5 levels. He was already a genius figure in Yunling continent, but compared with Weizhuo, it was simply impossible. Compared to heaven-level exercises, at the age of 26 or 7, will divide the 4 levels of cultivation practice. What kind of cultivation speed is this? Li Minghe's body shivered violently. Oyu Ranmen of his own Mingyuan zone was a treasure, but compared with the other guy, it was a humble stone. Haixianzong is about to rise. It turned out that the spirits of Haixian city were lost, and most of the monks on the sea had the idea of the exhaustion of the Haixian sect, but at the moment, they had the opposite thought in their hearts. How is it? This sea hunting conference, do you want to continue? Xuanhuan ancestor glanced at Li Minghe and Zixing lively, and then said something that shocked the audience. The sight of all the monks present was concentrated on the 3 Jindan monks, Xuanhuan Patriarch, Li Minghe, and Zixing Jinren. At this moment, the ancestor of Xuanhuan also exuded an unprecedented pressure. Indeed, even the prefecture-level exercises and the 5-time cultivation of Oyu Ranmen were directly beaten to death by Wei Suo in a round. This kind of strength will continue to be carried out at the sea hunting conference. It seems that the 2 sect gates have only lost more lives. Hearing Xuanhuan's ancestors, Li Minghe's body shook slightly, and a feeling of powerlessness floated in his heart. But just as he was about to confess his defeat, he heard a real hum of Zixing next to him. Xuanhuan Patriarch, the name of your elder Wei from Haixian sect is indeed stunning, but at this moment just say this, but it seems too early. As soon as the words came out, Li Minghe could not help but stare, and Xuanhuan Patriarch's eyes also flashed a trace of surprise. Li Daiyu, if Yu Mingyuan zone is about to quit, you can confess and withdraw now. Our Ziwi Izong, but we will fight against Haixianzong. Zixing lively narrowed his eyes, looked at Li Minghe, and said such a sentence. Why, can't we Mingyuan zone lose? Li Minghe's face changed a few times, and a fierce look appeared on his face. It's a big deal that we can't get out of Mingyuan zone alone. Since this is the case, I just said that when I didn't say it. The ancestor Xuanhuan glanced at the 2 of them, said this lightly, and watched the drama with his hands. Does the Ziwi Izong also have the same role as this elder Wei who hides his true strength? The eyes of the monk present gathered again on the blue light curtain. I saw that the elder Wei of Haixianzong was already very skilled at scraping away the things on Oyu Ranmen. Then he took his black knife-like magic weapon and put a knife in Oyu Ranmen. Only when he saw him casting this magic weapon, it seemed to be connected with 2 black-winged magic weapons, but at the moment it was separated separately. It seems that the 2 black-winged magic weapons specially used to assist this black knife, very strange. With a glance at the drawn black knife-shaped magic weapon, the elder Wei immediately put away the flag that had no effect, and then left the jungle without looking back. After wearing a few more miles, he saw that he had drilled into the hole of a big tree. After a while there was no movement at all, and it seemed that he had thoroughly counted the loot in it. Waiting for about another incense stick, and before Wei Suo came out, the 2 elders of Mingyuan zone glanced at each other, and swept the refractions towards other places in the Blackwood Islands. A moment later, a monk wearing a black and white vest appeared on the blue light curtain. This monk has a baby face, and it is one of the twin monks of Ziwi Izong. I saw that the monk was very calm, flying silently in the mountains and forests. After a while, the monk plunged into a valley full of large shell fragments and rocks. In this valley, however, there are 3 monks who have stood ZZ section. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 297. There are 3 monks of Ziyi who have gathered in this valley. One is a monk who divides the mind into 3 levels, and the other 2 are monks who divide the mind into 2 levels. The threefold cultivation of the Nianjing realm is the other of the 2 twin monks of the Ziyi. This monk is wearing a purple robe, and looks exactly like the monk wearing a black and white vest. The other 2 monks who were divided into 2 different levels of thinking, one with a pair of fleshy eyes, looked like a slit in his eyes, and the other was full of pock marks, and his face looked very fierce. Seeing the monks wearing black and white vests appeared in sight, the 3 monks suddenly looked relieved. These 4 monks are also famous among the nearby cities. The 2 twin monks of Ziyi were named Yindaoqian in black and white vests and Yindayi in purple robes. The monk in the flesh is named Xuanhuan, and the monk with the pock mark is Zhongwuji. Brother, how come you haven't arrived until now? At this time the monk Chi surnamed Ma Yindao read out. I met a monk of Mingyuan Zone on the road, but fortunately it was not Ou Ranmen, which had already been resolved. Yindao glanced at the 3 people in the valley and frowned. Are we only a few of us? If you don't come at this time, most of you have suffered something unexpectedly. But you are here, elder brother. We won from the sea hunting conference, and we finally have more than 70% confidence. More than 70% sure. When Monk Chi surrendered the sentence, the monks on the sea almost couldn't help but ask him if he had read it wrong. Because listening to Yindaoqian's tone, I was not sure to deal with Ou Ranmen. It's time to start, but at this moment, Monk Chi surnamed Yindaoqian immediately read out. I saw Yindaoqian said the sentence. Zhongwuji, who was full of pock marks, immediately nodded and shook his hand, but he also laid more than 30 blue flags in the valley. At the same time, Zhenyuan with a pair of fleshy eyes took out a small blue-yellow incense burner, and then took out a few scarlet hay and put it into the small yellow incense burner. Under the urge of Zhenyuan, these scarlet hays were ignited, and a plume of flame slowly emanated from this small blue-yellow censer. This is Yujiao Cao, which is specially used to lure the jade bone dragon. Some monks at the scene recognized the scarlet hay and exclaimed. When I heard the names of Yujiao grass and jade bone demon dragon, there was an unbelievable air-pumping sound all over the surface of the sea, and even the face of Xianyuan patriarch could not help changing. Dafen's name carries the word dragon, which is basically a high-level monster. And this jade bone demon dragon is unique to this Dead Sea in the Yunling continent. This peculiar dragon-shaped monster is usually fed on jade. Like the black bat dragon, it is a rare mutant earth monster. Every bone in its body is like jade and is tough. Abnormal, each root can be used to refine magic weapon. The strength of this 6th-level high-level monster is comparable to that of the Jindan monks. Now that the 4 monks of the Lagerstromia sect lit the jade chia grass, it was obvious that they wanted to lure the jade bone dragon. Although the jade bone demon dragon generally lives alone, there can be at most one such monster within 1,000 miles, but the 4 monks of the Lagerstromia dared to lead it out. The ability of the monk's jade bone dragon? Coming. Yindaoqian's face soon showed a dignified look. No. What made many monks present could not help but widen their eyes was that Yindaoqian and Yindaowi's pair of brothers suddenly took their hands together with their fingers. This man and a woman, or even 2 women holding hands, is okay, but the 2 men holding hands, or interlocking fingers, looks a bit chilly. But the next shocking scene appeared. I saw that Yindao, who was wearing black and white vests, rolled up the aura in front of him. It turned out to be the same as the Jindan monks, and formed a lot of blue lotus petals. It seems to become like a mortal who has nothing to do. Lianfa. Xianyuan ancestor suddenly took a breath. Judging by the appearance of these 2 monks at the moment, it is clear that they have practiced extremely rare combined spells in the world of monasticism. This mystery can be equivalent to superimposing one monk's practice on another monk. No wonder the real person of Purple Star knew that Xuanhuan had participated at the beginning, and after seeing Wei Suo's strength, he still insisted on carrying out the sea hunting conference. It turned out that there was such a means of pressing the bottom of the box. At this moment, the face of the Purple Star deist was already filled with a proud look. The reason why he was not as arrogant as Li Minghe before was that there was no way for him to guarantee that the two monks would meet together. Now the 10 monks of Ziwei sect can gather here, but only 4 monks, but Yin Dao and Yin Dao have already joined together at this moment. Zixing Dao Ren is determined. Because he knows better than anyone else, Yin Daoqian and Yin Daoxio are repairing the combination of the secret spells of magic, chaotic unification. When the two joined forces, the true power before Yin Dao was not lost to the Jindan monks. At least Zixing has tried it. The true power of the two after joining the law is not lost to him at all. I saw that after Yin Daoqian and Yin Dao's joint method was completed, Yin Daoqian stroked his hands, a cyan mask, out of thin air, and covered all 4 people inside. The reticle looks very thick, and it still has a vine-like rune on it. In addition, the flesh-eye monk Xuanhuan and Zhongmuji, who was full of pock marks, took out a 3-color brick-like magic weapon and a fist-sized white crystal bead respectively. Almost as soon as the cyan light mask turned out, the ground of this valley shook from the distance. On the mountain wall to the left of the 4 monks, a large hole suddenly appeared, huge rocks flying across, and a giant monster with a length of more than 5 feet appeared in the sight of all monks on the sea. This is the jade bone dragon. Oh my god. Don't say the bone is jade, it's like jade on the outside. On the surface of the sea, a burst of exclamation suddenly sounded. I saw this jade bone demon dragon with a unicorn-like head, a pair of short round feet on the head, and a body thicker than a bucket, with 4 claws. And the first 6-level high-level monster, all the scales on the body, are all crystal clear blue and white, it seems to be carved with jade. Even the 2 huge eyes looked like the texture of jade. If this monster is motionless, it feels like a jade dragon carved out of jade. A layer of unspeakable fierce light appeared in the eyes of this jade bone demon dragon. This 6th level high-end monster has a very high IQ, and it seems that it is just a matter of seeing the scene in front of it, and it already understands what is going on. At the moment when this jade bone dragon appeared, the ground under the feet of the 4 monks had already been arched upwards, and a crystal cone that was so scary that it was like the head of a hill thorned out from the ground, facing fiercely toward the 4. The tip of the crystal was on the cyan mask. The whole cyan mask shook sharply, but it didn't crack. On the contrary, the top of the crystal cone broke into pieces. Upon seeing such a scene, the ancestor of Xuanhuan suddenly became somber again. Jade Bone Dragon's attack obviously has the magical power of a heavy monk in Jindan realm. Yin Daoqian can block this blow, which shows that the spell he cast is indeed a heavy monk in Jindan realm. Reached the same level of power. The expression of the 4 monks was obviously loose when they saw that the cyan mask could hold up. Zhongwuji, who was full of pock marks, was desperately injecting the true element toward the white crystal ball in his hand. With the infusion of the true element, more than 30 blue light beams rushed out of the ground and moved towards the jade bone dragon go with. At the same time, Xuanhuan, a monk in the flesh, has inspired the brick magic weapon in his hand. I saw that this thing was a weight-rolling magic weapon. In the air, it became a 7 or 8 foot-sized 3-colored fine gold brick, which was slammed toward the head of the jade bone demon dragon. This jade bone dragon is too powerful, right? What made many monks on the sea silently exclaimed was that a transparent mask appeared outside the jade bone demon dragon. The 30 or so blue columns of light kept on impacting, but it was fundamental. This transparent mask cannot be damaged. At the same time, a mass of almost completely transparent, but bright crystal elixir, poured out from the mouth of this jade bone demon dragon and sprayed the fine gold brick above. This magic gold-like brick of magic, as soon as it was sprayed, formed a thick layer of crystal on the outside. This jade bone monster dragon's elixir actually has the effect of directly blocking the vitality of the magic circle and sealing the monk's magic weapon. In the face of such monsters, ordinary monks in split phase will probably be killed directly in a single shot. But on the blue light curtain, the look on Yendaekin's face did not change at all. Under his hands, he moved a blue, huge wind blade that was not weaker than Oran Meng's sickle-shaped magic weapon, and it instantly condensed out, and then flashed before the head of the Jade Bone Dragon. Faced with this wind blade, the Jade Bone Demon Dragon didn't seem to dare to neglect it at all. A spit of saliva squirted, and collided with this wind blade, flying apart two by two. And the monk Xuanhuan in the flesh has inspired a magic weapon like pure gold. Like the previous gold brick magic weapon, this magic weapon was immediately sealed by the Jade Bone Monster Dragon's elixir and fell to the ground. However, Xuanhuan didn't have the slightest pain, and took out a bronze ring magic weapon without stopping. It seems that the number of magic weapons on him is very amazing, and the power of these magic weapons are also very powerful. And Zai Weizong dared to let him bring so many powerful magic weapons on his body. It should be what this person can be sure of to reach this valley safely. At the moment, he did not hesitate to look like a magic weapon. Obviously, he wanted to use the magic weapon to slowly consume the Jade Bone Demon Dragon equivalent to the true essence. Anyway, this magic weapon is only sealed, not directly damaged. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziwei. Chapter 298. I saw the bronze magic weapon turned into a giant ring with a diameter of 3 feet in the air, and then it was sealed by a pill of Jade Bone Demon Dragon and fell to the ground. After spraying the saliva, this Jade Bone Demon Dragon was obviously impatient. A big mouth, a fist-sized, and a white and delicate demon look like sheep fat white jade, directly from the mouth. Squirted out. A series of crystal-like glittering elixirs emerged from this Yaeden and condensed directly in front of the Yaeden, forming an ice-like sharp cone. Although no sound could be heard, there was a circle of thread-like sonic booms in front of Yaeden. It seems that the power of this Yaeden seems to be close to the sickle-shaped magic weapon that Ou Ranmen played with the spell. 2. While this demon was blasting directly towards Yendaekin and others, the ground below rolled, and a small mountain-like crystal peak slammed into the green mask outside Yendao and others. The monk who divided the mind has been able to cast 2 magic weapons at the same time, and this 6th level high-level monster is already able to instantaneously 2 spells at the same time. Seeing the Jade Bone Demon Dragon's demon and the crystal peak punctured below, they will bombard the green mask outside Yendao and others. Xuanhuan's hands suddenly flashed white light, and a white beam immediately wrapped the 4 people. Inside, then the 4 people suddenly disappeared in place, and the inner bone of the Jade Bone Dragon, but collided with the crystal peak on the thorn underneath. This time, the crystal brilliance outside the Jade Bone Demon Dragon shook slightly, and it seemed very uncomfortable. At the same time, these 4 Zaiweizong monks have already appeared about 40 feet behind the Jade Bone Demon Dragon. In the hands of Xuanhuan's butcher is a light yellow body, but a circle of white brilliance flashes, and the appearance is like a pagoda. Teleportation magic weapon. Some monks on the sea could not help but exclaim. Xuanhuan's ancestor's face became a bit ugly again. Even not far behind him, in the sedan chair, Jia, who was originally very attentive to Si Weisuo's performance, was also very nervous at the moment. Now the 4 monks of the Lagerstromia are in a group, which is equivalent to having a Jindan monk sitting in town, plus this teleportation type magic weapon, unless it is a large-scale control of seeing spells and magic weapons, otherwise it is just playing. It is impossible to hit these 4 people. In the blue light curtain, I saw that this Jade Bone Demon Dragon had to react in the future. Yendao had already stroked his expressionless hands, and a green wind blade and a black cone-like magic weapon hit this head at the same time. Jade Bone Dragon. This time, the transparent crystal mask outside the Jade Bone Dragon was struck and disappeared. The huge green wind blade and black sharp cone-like magic weapon left a long rift and a blood hole on the back of this jade bone demon dragon, respectively. As soon as this transparent crystal-like light mask disappeared, more than 30 blue columns of light below immediately impacted on the body of the jade bone monster dragon. Normally, this jade bone monster dragon only has the part to bully people, and has never been bullied, and suddenly ate such a big loss. This jade bone monster dragon's demon suddenly flew back, a puffy liquid flying out. It seems to want to seal the four together. But under the flash of white light, the four monks of the Lagerstromia indica disappeared in place, but appeared directly in front of this jade bone demon dragon. Jade bone dragon turned his head and saw a huge wind blade and a black light rushing into the face, directly hitting his mouth. This time, the two jade-like eyes of the jade bone demon dragon swelled up, an expression that was boiled into the throat. This jade bone demon dragon is over. As soon as he saw such a scene, such thoughts suddenly appeared in the minds of most of the monks present. Sure enough, the jade bone dragon was not given a chance at all. Under the white light, four monks of the crepe myrtle appeared on the back of the jade bone dragon. A huge blue wind blade was cut on the neck of the jade bone demon dragon without stopping. The jade bone demon dragon was obviously a sigh of sorrow, and countless saliva on its demon pill spewed out on all sides, seemingly wanting to seal all the surrounding areas. But under the flash of white light, the four monks appeared again under the belly of this jade bone dragon. Under the flash of blue light, there was another blood light flowing from the jaw of the jade bone dragon. The jade bone monster dragon's elixir can be said to be the nemesis of the monk's magic weapon. Its magical power is completely equivalent to the magical power of a heavy monk in Jindan realm, but in the face of this teleportation magic weapon, it is empty. With strength, he can't beat his opponent at all. Almost all the pill liquid was sprayed out, and suffered such a heavy blow again. This jade bone demon dragon, which was once impossible, could no longer support it, and the huge body fell from the air. A blue light gushed out from Yindao's hand, but it was condensed into a 10-foot-long green hand knife in his hand. Under a slash, Yindaokin's technique was more than the green he used before. The power of the wind blade is much greater, almost cutting off the entire head of the jade bone demon dragon. Jade bone dragon's body stiffened, and then motionless. And Yindao immediately reached out and took a picture, holding the jade bone demon dragon's demon in his hand. A 6th-level high-level monster was killed by the four monks of the crepe myrtle in such a way. Purple Master Xingxing said it was indeed good. With this combination of Ruyi Ling Long Tower and the two brothers, it is indeed very easy to kill this jade bone demon dragon. The monk she surnamed was shocked. At the moment, what was said by Zhangwuji, who was full of faces, was read. Hearing this, Zixing's eyes suddenly flashed a proud god. You have been watching the drama for so long, and it should be out, but at this moment, before Yindao, who was holding the jade bone demon dragon and demon Dan, he suddenly faced the other side of the mountain and said so a sentence. What? Is there anyone here? The monks on the sea all stared in surprise. I saw a flash of yellow light on the mountain wall opposite, and a stone fell, but it really showed a monk with a white face and wearing a yellow robe. At a glance, the monk's eyes, the eyes of many monks on the surrounding sea, all gathered on the ancestor of Xuanhuan. This monk, only Zhou Tianjing's fourfold cultivation, is a monk of Haixianzong. And to see where he looks like a catastrophe at the moment is to watch the drama here. It is clear that his luck is very bad. It was just hiding on this mountain wall, and the result was just hiding in the place that the Lagerstromia sect had agreed in advance. Who, I said, it turned out to be a disciple of Haixian section. Yindaokin smiled coldly, for the sake of you and us being innocent, as long as you hand over all the things on our body, we can put you have a life. After a little hesitation, the monk Haixianzong, who was wearing a yellow robe, threw the treasure in his body to Yindao. Okay, after taking Nabeo's bag, a cold smile appeared on the corner of Yindao's mouth. You can die now. You, monk Haixianzong, who was wearing a yellow robe, was suddenly furious, but he just had time to swipe back 5 or 6 feet, and a huge blue wind blade had already cut him not far away. This guy is too dangerous and cunning, killing, and to deal with monks who are so much lower than their own monks, they must come to this set. Seeing this scene on the sea, many monks couldn't help but shook their heads. Looking at the appearance of this monk Xuanhuan with his hands empty, the magical tools on his body were actually handed over. With his cultivation practice, it is certain that he cannot resist the attack before Yin Dao. Seeing this, Xuanhuan monk was about to be cut in 2 pieces by this blue wind blade. But at this moment, a group of yellow light suddenly came from behind the monk Xuanhuan, and smashed the blue wind blade at once. "Who?" Yin Dao snorted before. "Your sister." As if answering his sentence, a shocking voice suddenly broke out across the sea. Because of the yellow light, Wei Suo's door-shaped flying sword. The 2 elders of Mingyu and Zong stayed for a while, and immediately responded, turning down the refraction mirror, involuntarily called "your sister's monk." All saw that standing in the jungle above the mountain cliff was a Tsingyi Weizhuo. This elder Wei didn't know when, but he had touched it here. "You go first, I'll help you block them." Wei Suo didn't seem to take Yin Dao at all, but said directly to the monk Xuanhuan. "I want to go, I'm afraid it's not that easy." Yin Dao flashed white light before a sneer and saw the figure of the 4 disappeared instantly in the same place appeared in the sea ferry desperately flying back not far behind Brother Zone. But at this moment, what caused Yin Daokin and others' pupils to shrink suddenly was that a lot of monsters with at least dozens of heads flew out in front of them. And all the monsters that are rushing towards them are all monsters with rank 5 or above. If dozens of monsters of level 5 and above are attacked together, I am afraid that even the real Jindan monks will be directly bombed. What? Seeing so many monsters rushing face to face at a glance, Xuanhuan screamed in horror, almost involuntarily inspiring the teleport magic weapon in his hand, and in a flash of white light, he retreated back dozens of feet. How could the other party control so many high-level monsters? It's a fictitious illusion. The 4 Zong monks all had their thoughts of trying to escape, but I saw the same monk in yellow robe Xuanhuan with the same horrible face when passing by a monster. There was a layer of ripples on the monster's body. This time, the 4 monks of the Zaiwei sect all reacted immediately. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 299. Look at my lunar extinction god ball. At this moment, Wei Suo suddenly shouted. What? Hearing the monk named Wei Suo at this time when we heard the monk named Chi Wei, the monks present, including the 3 Jindan monks including Xuanhuan ancestor, all changed their faces in unison. Taiyan's extinct ball's fame in Yunling mainland is so scary that it is the most advanced high-level magic technique. This technique is the unique technique of Taiyan God King who played the invincible hand of Yunling continent more than 1,000 years ago. Once it was played, it was said that there was no light in the world. At that time, no one could stop this techniques. It's just that this technique has been lost for thousands of years. Is this elder way inherited by Taiyan God? Sure enough, it's a heaven-level exercise. Divide into 4 levels of cultivation. At the same time that Wei Suo uttered a loud cry, all the monks on the sea saw that 14 fierce groups of blazing purple sea gods appeared on Wei Suo's body, and these 14 groups of sea gods were too big to die. Compared to the ordinary monk Shenhai Guanghua, I don't know how much it is. Each one is as individual as his flying sword. Oh my god! He must have been by chance, and inherited the inheritance of Taiyan God. Many monks were very sure. At this time, Yin Daokin waited for 4 Zong monks to see Wei Suo's cultivation behavior, and then heard Wei Suo yelling to send Taiyan's extinct ball. The famous monks escaped more than 50 feet in a moment, and at the same time, all 4 monks also scrambled to inspire defensive instruments and spells. We saw that Wei Suo repeated the sentence again, "Look at my Taiyin destroy sure god ball." Then he shook his hand and hit a reddish bead. This. The solemn expression of Wei Suo and the shining look of the 14 regiments of the magnificent purple sea of gods made all the monks extremely nervous, but what made all the monks' eyes swell was that I saw the crimson beads burst, but they just turned into a crimson fireball. This is clearly an ordinary burst of flame beads. Then we only saw Wei Suo smiled, and immediately turned like a frightened rabbit. No. Almost all the monks on the sea called your sister. You dare to bluff me? Yin Dao stunned and reacted, his nose almost crooked. Do you think you can run away? After a loud sigh, Zhen Yuantu also immediately inspired the teleport magic weapon in his hand. When the white light flashed, he put out 50 feet and chased toward Wei Suo. This wishful and exquisite tower in the hands of Zhen Yuantu can not only be used to evade the opponent's magic weapon and spell attack, but when used as a flying escape magic weapon, the speed is not comparable to that of the ordinary flying escape magic weapon. And Zhen Yuantu is obviously also a person specially trained by Ziwi Izong to use this magic weapon, and it is extremely skillful to use it. In Yin Daoqian's view, Wei Suo is definitely impossible to escape. But what made him, Zhen Yuantu and others unbelievable was that Bai Guang was only a few jumps, and after chasing out hundreds of feet, there was no trace of Wei Suo. This elder Wei is indeed not an ordinary monk. The monks on the sea couldn't help but sigh. The 4 Ziwi Izong monks couldn't see it, but they saw it clearly. After a drill in the jungle, Wei Suo immediately took out the invisible vestment and put it on his body, and then immediately he hid behind a tree and stood motionless. At this time, Yin Daoqian, Zhen Yuantu and others had already chased their heads and chased ahead. How is it possible? What magic weapon and spell he used? How could he escape so fast? This guy is actually practicing celestial exercises, and divides the monks with 4 levels of thinking. How is this possible? The 4 monks of the Lagerstromia sect stood together, their faces also flustered. What is this guy going to do? At this time, all the monks present saw that Wei Suo in the cloak of invisibility had moved secretly. This completely transparent figure was like a flowing wind, but instead secretly moved towards the 4 Lagerstromia the monks slipped past. About 220 feet away from the 4 crepe myrtle monks, all the monks on the sea saw Wei Suo stopping again. Brother Yin, what should I do now? Zhangwuji, who was full of face at this time, couldn't help but looked at Yin Dao before asking. Yin Daoqian groaned slightly for a moment, and an unusually fierce look immediately appeared on his face. We are going to chase another disciple of the Haixian section. Isn't he trying to save this Haixian sect disciple? I don't think he can save it. What is he doing again? At this time, all the monks saw Wei Suo's transparent figure moving, as if to raise his hand. What happened? What struck all the monks on the sea involuntarily was that there was no sign. On the front of Yin Dao's black and white vest, suddenly Guanghua Dashan formed a black and white gossip pattern in front of his forehead. Then I saw Zhen Yuantu, who was just in front of his left hand, suddenly tightened, as if he was suddenly stuffed with a fairy ball in his buttocks, and a sudden light appeared on his head. When a blood flashed out of his forehead, all the monks vaguely saw that there seemed to be a sharp-pointed magic weapon. But as the blood flower slipped, this magical tool disappeared without a trace again. Zhen Yuantu immediately fell down softly, and saw a blood hole leading from the left temple to the right temple. It was clearly too dead to die. Invisible magic tool. On the surface of the sea, after a moment of silence, an air-puffing sound suddenly sounded. In addition to the invisible vest, this elder Wei actually has an invisible magic weapon on hand. I saw a pale white face before Yin Dao excited a blue mask, and at the same time, angrily issued a huge blue wind blade, chopping towards Wei Suo's place. The trees along the way were cut like rows of grass. Yin Daoqian has also judged Wei Suo's direction from the direction in which the magical instrument came from. But all the monks on the sea saw that the transparent shadow of the thief had swept towards the side. Next, Zhang Wuji removed the 9-turn Ling Long tower in the hands of Xuanhuan, and the white light flashed toward the place where Wei Suo was originally. After no trace of Wei Suo was found, the three terrified Zhuizong monks quickly found Wei Suo nearby. Now they can be sure that Wei Suo only used some magic weapon and spell to hide in the vicinity and did not escape. But in the blue light curtain, all the monks on the sea saw that the three crazes of the Lagerstromia sect searched frantically, but they could not find Wei Suo at all. Occasionally, they happened to be in the right direction. Wei Suo, but I felt it immediately, and immediately slipped to the other side in time, always keeping a distance of more than 200 feet with these three crepe myrtle monks. It seems that Wei Suo circled outside the three crepe myrtle monks, but these three crepe myrtle buddies couldn't find him at all. After a few circles, Wei Suo probably felt sulky and even showed his head. It turned out that a person's head was floating in the air, plus the thief on his face. It looked very funny. Divine consciousness. While all the monks on the sea were crying and laughing, they all reacted, and they all understood why Wei Suo dared to face these four monks. His consciousness, obviously, can even perceive the specific situation beyond 200 feet. This kind of consciousness, the general monks who have been rebuilt in the Jindan period, may not be achieved. Obviously, although these two Lagerstromia monks joined forces, the true Yuan power was almost the same as that of the Jindan monks, but this mystery of joining forces did not seem to improve the consciousness. So Fang Weizhuo could attack Yan Dao directly before he was 200 feet away. Judging from the situation of Fang Cai, Yan Dao was wearing a vest with unique protector and catapult effect, and Zheng Yuantu was very unlucky and was hit by the invisible weapon that bounced out. And now this elder Wei is obviously very rich in fighting methods, and at once judged the pros and cons of both sides, so the distance between the two sides has been kept at more than 200 feet. In this way, even if the other party finds him occasionally, he can't accurately lock him and attack him effectively, but he can attack the remaining three Zhuizong monks at any time. There is the invisible magic weapon without the trace, unless Yan Dao continuously stimulates the blue mask or sacrifices other defensive magic weapons, otherwise he will be attacked by Wei Suo immediately. At this moment, seeing such a scene, the originally dying Ji Ya suddenly loosed her heart, but her heart was full of sweet and proud thoughts. But her compatriots. Sneaking secretly, what a hero. Don't you think it's okay to hide? We have the Jade Bone Demon Dragon in our hands. If you don't come out and fight us, then when the sea hunting conference ends, you Haixianzong can't win. The search for Wei Suo failed, and the three monks of Zhuizong suddenly yelled and scolded. Don't the monks of Haixianzong, are you as timid as a mouse? Don't you even dare to squeak, Yan Daoqian scolded. Squeak. What made all the monks dumbfounded was that when we saw the words, Wei Suo actually squeaked after he smiled. After a squeak, Wei Suo immediately turned his head up again and slipped out to the side quickly. By the time the three monks of the Lagerstromia indulge in his direction, Wei Suo ran to another place 200 feet away from them to hide. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 300. Chapter 319, Golden Core. Golden Core. Among the two wolf heads of the monster beast, the black chi was also sprayed at the same time. After the purple fire wave was slightly stagnant, the powerful energy actually turned over the purple fire wave, and the purple fire wave retreated. Vertex novels, handwriting novels. Seeing this lust shape, the feminine cultivator immediately reached for a shot on his treasure-receiving pocket. The seemingly quaint disc-shaped shapeshift great art great treasure is suspended in front of him. The disc-shaped shapeshift great art great treasure is floating on the ancient, naked, rest, and squat. As True Yuan sneaked in, this shapeshift great art great treasure rushed out of a white beam of light and slammed into the strange monster beast. Pa! The white light column blasted a hole in the black chi, hitting the front chest of this strange monster beast. This strange monster beast was a naked body, and was swayed back by the white light column, but his chest was not left with the scars. Black chi among the two wolf heads. However, it is still pouring. The feminine cultivator and the rough cultivator in the red shape-shift great art gown couldn't help but look at each other with a horrified look in the eyes. The strength of this monster beast is significantly higher than the level 6 high level. Its shape-shift great art is as powerful and defensive as a cultivator of a golden core first layer cultivation base, and its black chi is obvious, and yin phosphorus sand is as filthy as the shape-shift great art great treasure, but the powerful energy is not as strong as the yin phosphorus sand. These two golden core stage cultivators, no matter which one of them, if they encounter this monster single beast alone, they are not necessarily the opponent of this monster beast. The two giant core stages great treasure cultivator has a rich experience of the enemy. At the glance, the two no longer offer other shape-shift great art great treasures, maintaining their disc-shaped shape-shift great art great treasure and purple bells. In addition to the powerful energy, it is the use technique shape-shift great art, which is attacked towards this head monster beast. I saw the nose of a rough cultivator wearing a red shape-shift great art robe. Suddenly two golden flames came out and turned into two thin golden snakes. The feminine cultivator reached out, and the air was there are countless Lingzi-like white splendid lights, which are constantly flowing towards this head monster beast. The two Dao technique shape-shift great art were displayed. This monster monast beast, even with the strength of the golden core first layer cultivator, immediately showed an unsatisfactory look. The black chi ejected from the two skulls was pressed back. Just as black chi was pressed a little farther away from the monster beast, the blue monster core suddenly spurted out of the mouth on the right side of the monster beast, and a strip of blue dan liquid spewed out. It seems to condense countless blue arrows, rushing toward the two. The two golden core stage cultivators suddenly changed the great treasure. The monster shift great art of this monster beast has been so powerful, and the golden core first layer cultivator's shape-shift great art powerful energy is comparable to that of the inner core dan liquid. Shape-shift great art, of course, is even more powerful. I saw the feminine cultivator and immediately reached for the disc-shaped shape-shift great art great treasure in front of the suspension. I saw the fun word on the shape-shift great art great treasure, and the white light column was recycled. A white mask was formed outside the cultivator wearing the red shape-shift great art gown. At the same time, the rough cultivator wearing the red shape-shift great art robes is also like the giant treasure enemy, both hands pinching the shape-shift great art, condense in front of it a vortex of all condense by the blazing golden flame. Puff 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 puff, the blue arrow first hit the white mask and made a burst of explosions, but to the surprise of the two, the powerful energy of the blue arrow turned out to be almost the same as the black chi. The defense of the white mask was not broken. This kind of unreasonable lust shape, so that the two could not help but doubt whether there is any intrigue in this monster beast. But at this time, this monster beast turned out to be a U-turn, turned into a gray escape light, and ran away toward the rear channel. Chase. The feminine cultivator glimpsed, and suddenly reacted, a surging sound, and a rough cultivator wearing a red shape-shift great art suit, and immediately chased down the channel. Regardless of whether the monster beast is a level 6 high-level elder beast, or a true level 7 low-grade monster beast or a level 7 mid-level monster beast, at least its strength must be at level 7 monster beast. And no matter what other materials on the body, the light is the epidermis. If you refine it, you can refine a shape-shift great art garment that is at least powerful against the Dao rank middle grade. The speed of this monster beast is slightly worse than that of the two golden core stage cultivators. After turning around 7 or 8 passages, the two golden core stage cultivators have a hint of joy. The two people are less than 50 feet away from this monster beast. But at the moment, the two golden core stage cultivators didn't notice that the monster beast, which was desperately escaping in front, opened the mouth of the two heads with great treasures, and kept asking for help, even with a hint of surging sound. Did not come out, but the front of the open great treasure mouth, but it is constantly a layer of transparent ripples. And after a turn, The front is bright, but there is an exit. This head monster beast spirit great treasure, flew out. Outside is a valley in a dozen miles. In this valley, there are actually more than 10 temple ruins. Before the ruins of more than 10 tall grasses, there was a small square. The corner of the square stood with a number of intact white crystal columns. The bottom of the white crystal column was covered with a layer. The layer of the mysterious rune turned out to be like a shapeshift great art array. The feminine cultivator and the rough cultivator in the red shapeshift great art suit rushed out, and at first glance, the face was suddenly a look of surprise. And the weird monster beast, which had been running away from the front, stopped, and the 4 seemingly stupid black-gray eyes were glaring and looked at the 2 golden core stage cultivators. Send shapeshift great art. What surprised the 2 cultivators was that the secret place seemed to be the place of the shapeshift great art, and at this point, there was a layer of white spirit light. The sparkling white spirit light's breath makes the 2 golden core stage cultivators almost certain. The shapeshift great art array is a transmission of the shapeshift great art array. This transmission of the shapeshift great art array in the ruins of the shapeshift great art array turned out to be intact. At this time, who passed through this transmission shapeshift great art array? The white spirit light in the shapeshift great art has quietly disappeared after a few hours of flashing. But the secret place was transmitted in the shapeshift great art array, but there was no figure. In the eyes of 2 golden core stage great treasure cultivators, they suddenly showed a more alarming look. At this time, the strange monster beast standing on the small square paved by white mountains and stones, but suddenly burst into the rolling black sheet, rushing toward the 2. The 2 immediately inspired the shapeshift great art great treasure in front of him, still a white light column and a layer of purple fire waves, attacking this monster beast. But almost at the same time, the rough cultivator wearing the red shapeshift great art robe suddenly changed his face, an open mouth, a sudden red glow in the mouth, and the spiritual chi outside the body also violently rolled. The spiritual chi condensed into the flaming little sword also sounded a surging sound that seemed to really burn. With a burst of terrifying pressure, a red core bead rose from the mouth of the rough cultivator as if it were rising. At this moment, the time seems to be stagnant. I saw this pigeon egg. The small core bead was covered with countless mysterious rune. The splendid light emitted from it condensed a seemingly unspeakable shapeshift great art print. The inside of this core bead is like a liquid-like body with a thick mercury-like body flowing, giving a roaring surging sound. If Wei Suo is here, seeing such a lust scene, I am afraid I can't help but be amazed. Golden core of the golden core stage cultivator. This is what he wants to see, but there is no chance at all, the golden core of the golden core stage cultivator that has not been seen. The golden core swelled out, and the layer of radiance radiated from above, instantly condensed a dazzling red giant sword, and squatted toward the back of the rough cultivator. The naked body of the rough cultivator also instantly became weak. The golden core of the golden core stage cultivator is the most powerful weapon of the golden core stage cultivator. It is a combination of true Yuan and the essence of the cultivation base, the mysterious anomaly, and the monster core of the equivalent to monster beast. But every time it is motivated, it is to consume the precious treasure of true treasure. If it is not a last resort, the golden core stage cultivator will not spur the golden core against the enemy. Ka. The red giant sword of Xiaoguangjiang slammed back and burst into a burst of heaven-shaking cracking. The golden core of the shapeshift great art printed splendid light screamed in the air, and the dazzling red giant sword was completely shattered. The place where the red giant sword was originally empty, the blue light flashed, and a blue arm appeared. I saw that this arm was covered with purple and black gluten, and the skin looked very rough. At this moment, it seems that the red giant sword condensed by the golden core is hot, and it is quickly retracted. But it seems that this one is hard to pick up the arm of the red giant sword, but it seems that there is no scar. When the retraction is fast, the blue light on the arm slowly disappears, and it becomes completely transparent. At this time, the cultivator of the face feminine almost did not respond to the rough cultivator next to him. Why did he make a sudden victory of the golden core? Seeing this arm, his eyes were filled with the horror of the light, and he immediately reached out and touched the front. The disc-shaped shapeshift great art, the white light column immediately turned into a white mask to wrap two people. Pa! Almost at the same time, the feminine cultivator only felt an endless amount of powerful energy, bombarded on the white reticle from the front left side. The entire white reticle broke off immediately. Ka! On the golden core of the rough cultivator, the great treasure is released, and a red giant sword is displayed, and the invisible opponent on the side is hard pressed. The red giant sword broke down again, and the secret place was empty, and a blue flashing arm appeared, and then quickly disappeared. It can be hardened with the golden core of the golden core first layer cultivation base. This is obviously not the monster beast of the person. Its strength is obviously the great treasure cultivator of the golden core stage second layer cultivation base. And it's still invisible. With the cultivation base of the two, only when the monster beast is close to the range of more than 10 feet, can you feel the breath of this monster beast. This monster beast is still behind, but now it is already in the left front. This speed can only be described as amazing. It is definitely above the speed of the two. What's more, this monster beast, even through the transmission of shapeshift great art array, knows to drive the transmission of shapeshift great art array, its IQ, certainly high. This kind of strength, even if two golden core stage cultivators join hands, it is certainly not an opponent. Looking at the blue flashing arm, the fast disappearing lust scene, the face of the two golden core stage cultivators suddenly became pale, without the slightest blood. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Zy. Chapter 301. Chapter 301 Wonderful Furnace Cauldron. But at this time Reverend Firecloud happens to be the full control of Chi Fire Boat. The Vertex novels are all novels. The bottom of the whole black and red paintings is full of black and red flames. The paintings are just like the arrows of the strings, and they are rushing forward, so the subtle changes of Wei Suo and Ji Ya are changed. It also did not cause suspicion of Reverend Firecloud and Li Yazan, just thought it was a surprise to the speed of this Chi Fire Boat. Oh! Xuanhuan old ancestor's eyes flashed a strange look. Yin Corpse sect was a great treasure, and the disciples under the door all sent thousands. /p. The Yin Corpse sect disciple, who was killed in the hibernation gas sea, is called Chi Ziu and is the pro-discipline of Yin Meili Old Devil. After the Chi Fire Boat was ignited, the outside of the painting was covered with a black-red mask, and the outside wind and surging sound were all inaccessible. Li Yazan's hands were slightly moved, but a set of white jade seats was taken from the treasure-receiving pocket, and Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo were greeted at the bow. The Yin Corpse sect disciple at best is only a heavenly circuit realm 5th layer. Even if the talent is amazing, there is great cultivator good future, but Yin Corpse sect put in his body is certainly not much, even for its revenge, also not great treasure banner drum, so great treasure battle, like a fall of a thought division realm 5th layer, it is possible to become the golden core cultivator of the elder figures. I was just curious, so I only inquired. After sitting down at the bow, Li Yazan said with some smugness. The result is a lot of interesting things. The reward for Yin Corpse sect was amazing. I just didn't think of this. I just thought that no one dared to move Yin Corpse sect's elite disciple for decades. To promote the sect power, it was so great treasure. Yuan old ancestor looked at the movement and said with some admiration. The original Yin Corpse sect disciple was nominally the intimate disciple of Yin Meili Old Devil, but in fact, it was born by Yin Meili Old Devil and a dual cultivation Dao companion, a brother who had no great treasure. Illegitimate child. Li Yazan smiled. Women who are brothers. This Yin Meili Old Devil actually did this kind of anecdote. Yuan Old Devil also haha Euro mild, tut praised a surging sound, but he will soon break through the cultivation base of the golden core stage second layer, plus the strength of Yin Corpse sect. What kind of female to be the cultivator does not, and the woman who moves his brother, the beauty of the woman of his brother, should be very amazing. I also heard this, the female cultivator is naturally good, but the most important thing is the shapeshift great art and the unique naked body that the female cultivator has done. Li Yizan smiled and said, the shapeshift great art of the female cultivator is Tinpi's shapeshift great art. Every place in the secret place is soft and fragrant. Its naked body is a unique curling tripod. /p. As it a curling tripod, and the face of Xuanhuan old ancestor, there is a look of great treasure. No wonder that Yin Meili will do this kind of thing. Xuanhuan old ancestor is a great treasure, but Wei Suo simply doesn't understand it. Some doubts ask, what do you mean by the predecessors, this curling tripod? The younger generation has never heard of it, can you explain one? 2. Li Yizan smiled and said, some female cultivators' naked body is unique. Its Yin Yuan has different secret places for the male cultivator. The female cultivator with this naked body is generally called wonderful furnace cauldron. Curling Ding is one of the best wonderful furnace cauldrons, with spiritual qi and Yin Yuan, which eliminates the fire attribute impurities of many spicy herb residues in the cultivator naked body. Elder Wei should know that after using medicine pill cultivation, there will naturally be some impurities in the naked body, and there is no fire attribute impurity in the water attribute spirit pellet. Therefore, if the fire attribute drug impurity in the naked body can be removed, the cultivator is also a great treasure. /p. After the meal, Li Yizan looked at Wei Suo and smiled a little. He said, Elder Wei is so young, life treasure is a life essence. If you have a chance, you can go to Miao City and buy one or two. Wonderful furnace cauldron, maybe for your culture and great treasure with a secret place. As this wonderful furnace cauldron purchased directly, Ei Suo was a bit dumbfounded, and couldn't help but think of Spirit Peak City's 700 products, spiritual stones. It seems that Elder Wei is used to painstaking cultivation on a regular basis, and rarely asks about this outside. Ai Yizan couldn't help but smile, Miao Yuzong is specializing in this matter. Their sex great treasure part of the income is to discover and train such female cultivators. Many relationships are also made by the female disciple in their section. So although Miao Yuzong doesn't even have a golden core stage cultivator, even if there are several golden core stage cultivators, such as Yin Corpse sect, this kind of cloud spirit continent northern part number 1 sect, I dare not move it. Zone. There are a lot of female disciples under the door, but they are all waiting for several old devils above the golden core stage second layer. When the wind blows up in the air, these golden core stage old devils are very great treasure, may be helpful for Miao Yuzong. /p. As soon as I heard Li Yizan say, Wei Suo couldn't help but sweat. I didn't think Cloud Spirit Continent had such a flower head. And Ji Ya couldn't help but look a little blushing at Wei Suo. At this time, Ji Ya changed her face with change appearance pill. Otherwise, her appearance is sure to be the movement of these 3 golden core stage cultivators. Well, let's get back to business. Li Yizan looked at Wei Suo's General Wei Suo, and there was a melody in his heart. Then he said, but it is the illegitimate son of Yin Meili old devil, and it can't make Yin Corpse sect so great treasure. After all, Yin Meili is only the 3rd lowest among the 7 golden core stage cultivators in Yin Corpse section, and this illegitimate child, it is not a special glory. Later, Yin Corpse sect also invited several cultivators with special search methods to search the hibernation gas sea for the cultivator that killed Chi Ziu. One of the cultivators is my friend. From his mouth, Yin Corpse sect is special. Intercourse is waiting, pay special attention to a purple wooden sign like shapeshift great art. At that time, I guessed with the friend, Yin Corpse sect, then the great treasure, not because Chi Ziu is the illegitimate son of Yin Meili. The real reason is that this corpse shift smek specially sought by Yin Corpse section, /p. Hearing Li Yazan, Wei Suo, and Ji Ya suddenly felt a shock. The two of them immediately thought of the film That Even Green-Robed Old Man had no effect. The back had a ghost face pattern and exuded bad smell. The taste of the purple wooden sign. Sect like Yin Corpse sect, this thing is so valued, but it also has a mind, Li Yazan went on to say, spent a lot of effort and secretly followed many Yin Corpse sect cultivators for a long time. Later I finally found out that Yin Corpse sect discovered such a secret place, ancient ruin. As for the purple wooden sign, it is said to have been taken from the secret place ancient ruin. /p. The purple wooden sign is said to have been obtained from ancient ruin by Yin Meili. It seems to be used for the Yin Corpse sect cultivation Yin Yuan Gong shapeshift great art or the Yin Yuan shapeshift great art. Some use secret places, Yin Meili is cheaper than others. Son, I gave Chiziu. But later, with Yin Corpse sect's exploration of the secret place ruins, it is possible that the shapeshift great art of this xylotype is related to some hidden secret places in the secret place, not just one that can assist in cultivation. Small things are so simple. When Yin Meili and others wanted to take this piece back and study it, his illegitimate child was actually killed in the hibernation gas sea. Yazan said something about the catastrophe, but for the cultivator who dares to kill the illegitimate child of Yin Meili, old devil, I still admire it. Well, Chiziu is also carrying the purple demon infant, and it is the hibernation gas sea that goes along with several Yin Corpse sect elders. It been a long time since no one dared to move Yin Corpse sect disciple. The courage of the cultivator is really some great treasure. And Yin Corpse sect eventually failed to find out which cultivator came out. /p. It should be that Chiziu doesn't have long eyes, and he has a great treasure backing like Yin Meili. The result is a cultivator that would have been closed-door cultivation in the hibernation gas sea. Xuanhuan old ancestor said contemptuously, the people themselves have to stay in the hibernation gas sea for a few years, and the cultivation base is much higher than him. What can he do if he kills him? It should be like this. Reverend Firecloud sneered at a surging sound. If I have to close door cultivation in it, there is a Yin Corpse sect cultivator like him to provoke me. I may not leave lust, not killing. Old great treasures, I am not in the closed door cultivation of hibernation gas sea, but I don't know much about you. People want to rob my woman, I killed him. Wei Suo, who was crying and laughing, was so screaming in her heart, but the face was still moving, and she looked like a curious look. Island Lord Li, did you find out later, that is like the purple wooden sign, shapeshift great art, what is the use of secret place? This is not done by shapeshift great art. Li Yazan shook his head and said, the old devil of Yin Corpse sect just saw some of the secret place ruins. With doubt, I wanted to study the purple wooden sign. They also don't know if there is any special relationship between the wood sign and some of the ruins, and we naturally have no way of knowing the role of the purple wooden sign. /p. After the meal, Li Yazan added, the piece of wood can be the unique thing of the ancient section. It doesn't make much sense to see it even if you get the cultivator of the wooden symbol. It is estimated that you will enter the ruins, and you will find some connections. /p. Wei Suo nodded and silently nodded. There are not many people who know this Yin Corpse sect before the younger generation, but I heard that the sect master of Yin Corpse sect is amazing golden core 5th layer cultivation base. Cloud Spirit Continent cultivation base countable great treasure cultivator. The predecessors seem to be not worried about this at all. Is it because the person has something? Is it definitely not in the secret place? /p. Blood Spirit old ancestor, Xuanhuan old ancestor didn't seem to be in the same heart, shook his head. The old guy's work, shapeshift great art Yin Qi is too heavy. As long as a great treasure is used to use true Yuan, the body may die immediately and die. Since 10 years ago, this old guy has been closed in Yin Corpse sect, and he doesn't fight shapeshift great art at all. It is only after being able to break through divine mystic realm that it is possible to change this embarrassing situation. /p. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 302. Chapter 302 Dan Pain Cultivator. There is a peerless divine ability of the Golden Core Realm 5th layer, but I don't dare to use it. I can only hide in the Yin Corp sect to make a tortoise, which is really bad enough. Wei Suo couldn't help but shook his head with lust, but he was thinking about it. It seems that he accidentally got a good thing from Chiziu, but whether he can come in handy or not, he has to wait for it. Ruins looked inside and said it. But of course, Li Yizan is another laughter of the catastrophe, saying, and the shapeshift great art by blood spirit old ancestor is a core formation, then it will burn Yang Yuan's blood, and the damage to the body is greater than great treasure. If you don't build golden core, it's okay. So Cloud Spirit Continent knows the cultivator of this matter, and many can't help but secretly say that blood spirit old ancestor thinks of his golden core, but it will hurt, it is a painful cultivator. This kind of work, shapeshift great art, is really painful. Wei Suo he smiled and was extremely curious about the golden core of the golden core stage cultivator he had never seen before. Because the golden core stage cultivator is the most great treasure of the enemy, that is, the golden core it repaired. This golden core can be sacrificed like the shapeshift great art great treasure. It is said to be a lot of variation scenery, and the general cultivator is simply unimaginable. Just really want to call golden core, it will consume the amount of great treasure true UN origin chi. Wei Suo thinks that these 3 golden core stage cultivators are unlikely to lose their precious treasure due to their curiosity. An origin chi, spray the golden core out to give yourself a look, so he just thinks in his heart, of course, the word is not mentioned. But this is also a curse, because Yin Corp sects many work shapeshift great art and surgery shapeshift great art, are to use mortal, cultivator corpse naked body, and even to seek special the right person to kill after cultivation, just blood spirit old ancestor of a purple river umbrella shapeshift great art great treasure, is said to have used more than 1,000 newborn babies. It is not uncommon to have this report in violation of the day. Reverend Fire Cloud, which has a thin face and doesn't talk, is the one that is coldly inserted. More than 1,000 newborn babies, both Wei Suo and Jiya were shocked and changed. Yin Corp sect made such a killing. Is there no other sect tube? If you kill a child of a cultivator, or go out and rob a mortal baby, Cloud Spirit Continent's sect will not matter. Reverend Fire Cloud glanced at Wei Suo and squinted his eyes, but Yin Corp sect is a great treasure city, a lot of mortals, and even a woman who specializes in making babies for them. Yin Corp sect gives those people a lot of good secrets. Place, those people are also happy to be tight, and others can say something. Here Suo and Jiya are speechless after hearing the explanation of Reverend Fire Cloud. After all, cultivator in mortal eyes is the fairy home, cultivator some of the work shapeshift great art, surgery shapeshift great art, shapeshift great art device, etc., in the eyes of mortals are not got something, give a little bit good secret place, borrow a belly this kind of thing, estimate is willing to do the person is great treasure, this intercourse easy, although let people listen to the heart, but a willing to play, a willing to get, others are simply not tube. Right, when it comes to the Shincorp sex shapeshift great art, I have something to remind Elder Wei Li Yizan eyes flash, suddenly remembered something, laughed. Yin Corp sect is not only the 7 golden core stage cultivator, the number of golden core stage cultivator is the crown of Cloud Spirit Continent northern part all cities, and Yin Corp sect there is also the only golden core stage female cultivator in the Cloud Spirit Continent northern part. The name female cultivator is called Yin Liwa, and the strength of the 7 cultivators in Yin Corp sect ranks 4th. It is estimated that I am not necessarily against it. The shapeshift great art of this female cultivator is also a haze and a painful one. However, this woman has her own set of secret place, which can be used to nourish the body. This woman raised a bunch of male furnace cauldron, but it seems to be unsatisfied, very fond of male color. Like me and fellow deist Fire Cloud is also old age. It is estimated that even if this line meets this woman, the other party does not look at us. But like Elder Way, this cloud spirit continent hundreds of years is rare. The age of such a light heaven level shapeshift great art repair to thought division fourth lay er's peerless genius. Even if the face is ugly, it is estimated that this woman is also interested to eat your, not to mention Elder Way you look handsome, estimated as long as there is a chance, she is sure not to let you off, to do everything you can eat a good food. Ah, Wei Suo was a bit dumbfounded. Island Lord Li, this was eaten by her. It is estimated that she is comfortable, I am miserable. It depends on her. Li Yazan smiled and said, she can't make any disadvantages to you, so you can burn with the desire. You can also suck your primordial yang, so that you can't die. It is estimated that for the last 10 years and 8 years, the cultivation base has no shapeshift great art to enter. No, then enjoy it. I still want to give Island Lord Li Wei Suo. He smiled, I can't afford it. If this is really in her hands, it will be impossible for us. Li Yazan haha smiled. In such a good chat, Chi Fire boat under the control of Reverend Fire Cloud, headed for Sea Immortal City, and encountered several cultivators along the way. Xuanhuan old ancestor sent them a message to Sea Immortal. After sect, Chi Fire boat went all the way north. Along the way, Wei Suo chatted with the 3 Golden Core Realm Great Treasure cultivators, which also increased the lace news between many previously unknown insights and many Golden Core stage cultivators. This is also the so-called mouse and mouse friend. The dragon has a long road. At what level, what kind of circle will be contacted? At such a cultivation base, it is possible to reach the circle of the Golden Core Realm cultivator and hear the secret place that is known between many Golden Core Realm cultivators. It turns out that the Cloud Spirit continent northern part is a city of 32 cultivators, plus the northern part of the tens of thousands of miles of the Extinction Sea. Even rogue cultivator counts, a total of 25 Golden Core stage cultivator. Yin Corp sect, which occupies 7 Golden Core Realm cultivators, accounts for almost 1/3 of the Cloud Spirit continent northern part's well-deserved number 1 sect door. Among the 7 cultivators in the door, the most dandruff cultivator, the old ancestor, is the amazing Golden Core Realm 5th layer cultivator, which is of course the number 1. I have experienced Demonic Eye Island and I have seen the Samsara Tower left by the ancient Golden Core Realm 5th layer cultivator. The Wei Suo, the heaven-shaking powerful energy that has sunk the entire Demonic Eye Island, is very clear that this Golden Core Realm, the cultivator of the 5th layer cultivation base, how amazing its divine ability is. Among the remaining 6 Golden Core Realm cultivators of Yin Corp's sect, the second largest is the cultivation base of the Golden Core Realm 2nd layer, which is the same as Xuanhuan Old Ancestor. And listening to Xuanhuan Old Ancestor's helpless tone, Wei Suo is also more clear in mind. After the Golden Core Realm, each of the first layer's cultivation base, certainly more difficult than the Thought Division realm. Every breakthrough of the first layer's cultivation base I don't know how many times. Yin Corp's sect, rank 2nd cultivator is named Ye Wushang, who is said to have no work shapeshift great art restrictions, not like Dan Payne blood spirit old ancestor like hold up in the door, but it's I was a cultivation mad. Others think painstaking cultivation very boring. He is to feel painstaking cultivation extremely strong, the more repair more happy, basically nothing special, is desperately painstaking cultivation. This person's talent is good. It is said that the age is not great treasure, but it is very likely to break through to a higher cultivation base. Yin Corp's sect's 3rd ranked cultivator is called Ye Ling, and it is said that this person is also extremely lascivious, and the 4th ranked Yin Liwa is said to have a leg. However, its taste is said to be very unique. Compared to the glamorous female cultivator, this person is more interested in intercourse with some meaty, obese female cultivator. Just the great treasure. Most female cultivators are very valued. The general culture of shapeshift great art will not make you fat. So after this person found a few concubine, it was said that the concubine was made very fat. This kind of hunter lie in a pile of fat female middle hobbies, it is a bit difficult to understand. Yaling's cultivation base is also the Golden Core Realm second layer, and the next Yin Liwa, Yin Meili, Mo Qing Feng, and Chen Yu are the cultivators of the Golden Core Realm first layer. The entire Cloud Spirit continent, the southeast and northwest 5 secret places, but the eastern part of the sect is the most powerful, Cloud Spirit continent's strongest sect Metasoul, also in the eastern part of Cloud Spirit continent, but it is also similar to Heavenly Profound continent, because the Heavens Dome in the east has the most cracks, the living environment of the cultivator is even worse, but the resources thus obtained are more. In fact, the strong great treasure of a sect is not the number of low-grade disciple, but the number of cultivators above the thought division realm in this sect, and how many Golden Core Realm cultivators and possible promotion to Golden Core Realm the cultivator. Golden Core Realm cultivator, for a sect, it actually has a lot of shocking effect. Generally, the shapeshift great art between the Golden Core Realm cultivator is not a lot. First, because it is difficult to repair the cultivator of Golden Core Realm, Great Treasure is more reluctant, very cautious, and second, because the cultivator Great Treasure above Golden Core Realm has a Great Treasure divine ability, even if it kills the other party, dare to ensure that there is no damage. Golden Core Realm cultivator escape means are also emerging, even if a sect than another sect more powerful, as long as the other sect have a Golden Core Realm master sits, another fierce sect also dare not jump move, because the other side Golden Core Realm master not to escape, is endless trouble, specifically to hide, to deal with this sect or disciple, that this sect but cannot afford, always can't let himself sect disciple all in the gate hiding, Zuo Kashang Kong. Chi fire boat went all the way north, flew for a little half a day and a whole night, and when it was near the dawn of the second day, Reverend Fire Cloud stopped the controls and the shapeshift great art great treasure stopped. The front is the empty Mulberry Island. After crossing the island, it is close to the secret place ruins. I've clicked on the front of the secret treasure. After a great treasure island, I don't like the intercourse. The Reverend Fire Cloud said, the next step is to get close to the water, otherwise it should be the people of Ying Corp sect found out. Xuanhuan old ancestor, do you have a better shapeshift great art great treasure than this one? If not, then use this shapeshift great art great treasure. Li Yazan reached out with a hand, but it was a shapeshift great art great treasure that was as long as 2 transparent clam shells together. Path to Heaven. Author, Wu Ziyi. Chapter 303. Chapter 303 Ying Corp's Sect, Brilliant Fire Palace, First, Red Ticket. Island Lord Li, this piece of crystal boat is made from fantasy light crystal clam. I don't know how deep the water can enter. Xuanhuan old ancestor looked at the water deflector shapeshift great art great treasure from Li Yazan and asked for this. Listening to what he meant, there must be a scorpion shapeshift great art great treasure. I have this shapeshift great art great treasure, which is about 700 feet deep, Li Yazan replied. 700 Zhang, Wei Suo couldn't help but squat. He had tried it once or twice in the hibernation gas sea. His water-absorbing shapeshift great art beads had powerful energy, but there was no shapeshift great art under 300-400 feet. Of course, I still need this shapeshift great art great treasure from Island Lord Li Xuanhuan old ancestor said, the shapeshift great art great treasure on my body is a shapeshift great art made by my family in Sea Immortal City. The deepest water is only 500 feet, which is far better than the shapeshift great art of fellow deist. Great treasure. If that's the case, then please take it to the boat. Li Yazan smiled a little, reaching for a little, the flash of intuition on the crystal boat, and a transparent clamshell turned up. Reverend Fire Cloud took Chi Fire boat, and after all the people entered this strange watermark shapeshift great art great treasure, I saw the skull on the shapeshift great art great treasure, a surging sound whistling, and a small splash of water. This shapeshift great art great treasure sank into the water and disappeared on the sea. Island Lord Li, is this shapeshift great art great treasure made for you? Wei Suo looked around in amazement. After entering the water, not only from the transparent clamshell, the surrounding scenery was clearly visible, and the secret place was not sulking inside, and the cornice shapeshift great art great treasure was in the water. The idling speed seems to fly faster than the white jade crane before Wei Suo. Where I have such a good artifact refinement, this shapeshift great art great treasure is the talent of artificer. Who are you? If Elder Wei can hunt a fantasy light crystal clam, I can introduce this artist to help you refine. Li Yizan saw Wei Suo's envious thought at first glance, and smiled slightly. Island Lord Li, this shapeshift great art great treasure, should it be open underwater, Xuanhuan old ancestor is also a very good. Look at this piece of the shapeshift great art great treasure. I looked at Li Yizan and asked. Li Yizan nodded, it can be opened, but when it is opened, it is going to stop. Otherwise, shapeshift great art is unable to withstand the sea water. If this is the case, then please open Island Lord Li and do some cover UPS. That would be great. Li Yizan reached out and the upper shell turned up again after the boat stopped. After turning it up, it was covered with a transparent spirit light to keep the sea water out. Xuanhuan old ancestor had a slight movement of his hands, but it was a dozen green fluffy green plants. I saw that these dozens of groups seemed to be attached to the outer shell of the crystal boat, and they grew up quickly, but they grew into a lot of white green olive algae. After the crystal boat was closed, it looked like a group of green algae fluttering in the sea. In the dark sea, it covered all the spirit light of the crystal boat. Xuanhuan old ancestor's move is to keep Yin Corp sect from discovering it, and to minimize the trouble. But what the pedestrians Xuanhuan old ancestor and Wei Suo don't know is that at this moment, a great treasure piece of escape light is approaching the side of their position, approaching the sea where the secret place ancient cultivator ruins is located. At this moment, the sky has already been brightened. From there are also 450 feet. It is also considered to be one of the sea islands on the sea. It is an empty sky and there is no space at all. Just look carefully, you will see the sky above the empty sea that is thousands of miles away from the empty island. There is always a layer of gray mist filled. The sea below the gray mist looks empty. However, if a cultivator is really close to the secret place, the divine consciousness will be bounced off inexplicably if it is swept, and there is an invisible restrictions around the secret place. Inside this invisible restrictions, it is an amazing sight. From the outside it looks like it is empty on the sea, but it is a great treasure, a small island. These islands are all connected, and there are some differences from the news that Reverend Firecloud and Li Yizan have discovered. Reverend Firecloud and Li Yizan before, although certainly also to here to explore, but apparently also did not enter this with the effect of the inexplicable restrictions, so they only think here, at most only tens of thousands of miles radius, but in fact, this restrictions inside, the continuous island is full of seeing in the radius, obviously like a small land. I saw high and low, great treasure great treasure. In the small islands, many places have unique brilliance and various colors of fog, and on the periphery of the island, you can't see the scene inside. At the moment on the west side of the island, there is no less than 100 cultivators in a secret place of about 100 miles from the great treasure. These cultivators are dressed in a variety of shapeshift great art clothing, and the cultivation base is different, but most of the great treasures give people a feeling of yin qi, especially the faces of many cultivators, which are much more pale than the average cultivator. At first glance, I feel very uncomfortable. The hillside where these cultivators are located is actually a first class, like a terrace step. These cultivators stand on top of these steps in turn. But just a few dozen feet behind these cultivators, they are all covered in black fog, and from time to time there is white light flashing, sometimes mixed with wolverine surging sound. Close to this black fog on the steps, there seemed to be a thick layer of ice. On the top steps of these cultivators, there is a pair of black slabs of coffin, which makes people feel uncomfortable at first sight. On this pair of black slabs, it is sitting on a look of wood. It looks like a 50-year-old black robe. The old man's face is thin, and the two eyes are green, and the black robes on the body are like the black scorpion underneath. It is covered with the lifelike rune. If it is an ordinary cultivator, you can see it at a glance. Regardless of the cultivation base of the cultivator, there is definitely a feeling of extreme discomfort in the heart. But what is even more amazing is that the spiritual chi, which was born outside the black robe, is black, and it looks like a little black skull with a fist. Great treasure. It is terrifying extremely. Spiritual chi has changed shape. Obviously, this old man in black robes is also a golden core stage great treasure cultivator. Awkward, the transparent light on the sea flashed, a tall and thin gray cultivator, and a demonic chi-stalking purple demon infant passed through the invisible restrictions outside the secret place ancient ruin. Out of the figure. From this restrictions inside, but also cannot see the scene on the surface of the sea, and from this high and thin gray robe cultivator without hindrance to look, it is clear that secret place position restrictions has been used in some kind of fang shape shift great art unravel, cracked a hole, only the eye illusory light, but there is no defense powerful energy to prevent entry. The other party has prepared unravel peripheral restrictions. I saw that this cultivator didn't stop at all. It flew to the lower steps before flying to the black scorpion. The black robes on the black scorpion look good, and the black and green robes of the eyes are a gift. The people of Brilliant Fire Palace. Brilliant Fire Palace people. As soon as I heard this, the hundreds of cultivators gathered underneath suddenly became a commotion, and many faces had a horrified look. If it's not a sect like the Brilliant Fire Palace, how dare you come so arrogantly, you can't even think of it. Is it a bunch of rotten meat in your mind? Brilliant Fire Palace. Although the so-called Cloud Spirit Continent the West #1 sect, strength and Wei Yin Corp sect is still a line, because of Brilliant Furry Palace shapeshift great art, and great art of our Yin Corp sect has some restraint, so you might as well quit Yin Shapeshift Corps, or let me directly to your results, so as to save a disgrace. The old man in the black robe on the black scorpion, the green light in the eyes flashed, and suddenly the coldly sounded like this. Although this surging sound is not great treasure, but the hundreds of cultivators, suddenly a face change, stunned, along this hillside terrace-like steps, instantly quiet down. The black robe old man then coldly asked about the grey cultivator that purple demon infant had arrived. How many people came from Brilliant Fire Palace? About 200 people. There should be at least 2 golden core stage cultivators. The foot is swaying in the purple-black demonic chi. It looks like a baby. The eyes are still smashing from the purple demon infant's grey cultivator. It is very quiet and replies, one of them the golden core cultivator is very white outside, and the fire attribute is not the shapeshift great art. It should be the great treasure Reverend Yao Sanzan. Looking at the grey cultivator with the same look, the old man in the black robes who saw the chill in his heart, but his eyes flashed a satisfactory look, but he just nodded slightly, and there was not much words. After the time of about half a column of incense, the rear is not in the black fog of the surging sound of the ghosts, the white light flashes, a young cultivator wearing a white shapeshift great art and holding a white bone. However, it was worn out from it, violently breathing, and it looked very difficult. How is the lust shape inside? The green glory in the eyes of the old man in the black robe was a flash, and asked directly. Great treasure is just 3 more stick of incense time, and my teacher and martial ancestor Ye should be able to break the restrictions. The young cultivator horse wearing a white shapeshift great art suit went up and replied with scorn. The black robe old man nodded and still did not make any statement. Master, are we going to intercept the Brilliant Fire Palace or go directly inside? Seeing the old man in the black robe without any order, peddling the purple demon infant's grey cultivator, but could not help but ask. If you change, how do you decide? The old man in black robe did not answer, but he asked this sentence. If it is decided by Disical, they will let them enter. This secret place is not a private place for our Yin Corpse sect, and even if it is to be intercepted, there is no reason to stand it. If you hard block the war, both sides will lose great treasure. The grey robes are not humble and say, we have been here for so many days, and we have some understanding of this place. Instead of hurting the enemy 1000, self-injury 800, it is better to let them in. They promoted this position, and when they lost the cultivator in restrictions, I was afraid that there would be more cultivators than we killed. The old man in the black robe looked at the grey cultivator without looking at the lust. The eyes flashed a satisfactory look, but there was no indication on the mouth, just the order of the coldly, after the time of the 2 stick of incense, we are ready to go in.